You know, with how integrated Collab has been with the main booster for a past year or so, it kind of make me excited to see what are the IPs that get collab with the Vanguard next. I mean, one of the coolest one in the recent time, in my opinion, is definitely the Visible one, and I hope they actually go back to it for some more. However, before the biggest collab we have ever wanted to see in a long time with Spotify collab, we have to stop and look at one of the most common collab in Vanguard as of right now, and that is Bang Dream.
It never ends.
And as we all know, Bang Dream has been trying to introduce new band every few years or so, and this time round is it even a band? Like, seriously? Yes, it is Ave Mujica turn to actually get a proper right line in Vanguard. But how good is this playstyle? And that is exactly what I'm gonna be talking about today. And at the same time, BANCHOU, are you seriously going to make the playstyle of this deck based on one single line in the anime?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Which line is it? You guys have to go and find out yourself, because I will try to go through every entry in this list as neutral as possible and as spoiler free as possible. So do note if there are some missing information, this is exactly why. So let's start off with the right line, and there's nothing too crazy to talk about the light line because it is exactly the same as
my go.
The grade 1 first for grade 1 music order, in this case is Ave Mujica obviously, and then the grade 2 have to look for any Ave Mujica card in general. So we can kind of skip ahead into the main grade 3 of this deck, Oblivionis the Noble. This card has 3 skill, where you have the usual: if you do not play a music this turn, you can search your deck or draw for up to one of them and play it. If you search your deck, shuffle it. And then at the end of the battle, your grade 3 or less Ave Mujica record attack or boosted, you can lock that unit. This is a must. And last but not least, when this unit attack, if you play an Ave Mujica music order this turn, unlock all of your card on the field. For those who know what I'm talking about, you know. But to talk about the actual playstyle in general, I feel this is a little bit slap in the face to Messiah. Yes, Messiah does have access to Blanket cards, but let's be real, 80% of the Blanket card is not that compatible with Messiah to begin with, especially considering all the effect is kind of tied
To his own mechanic.
Though tightening all the mechanics together also come at the cost of Oblivionis being easily one of the weakest hit on the field. But fortunately enough, we do have some music to compensate for that weakness.
But wait!
Before we go into the music, let's talk about the other band member in the group. Starting off with Dolores the Kind-Hearted. This unit has 2 skills where when placed on Regard Circle during main phase, you can look at top 5 cards of your deck and choose one card from among them, discard it, and shuffle the deck. And then when this unit is in front row right Regard Circle, attacks and it was unlocked this turn, you counterblast one to draw a card. If your number stone has 4 or more cards, this unit perform drive check until end of that battle instead of drawing a card. This card, nothing too crazy, it's a bit like Rana, but instead of being a very decent beater for rush, this card has utility to compensate for.
You suck.
Following from the Kind-Hearted, we have the Obedient Mortis. When this unit is placed on Regard Circle during main phase, if you have an Ave Mujica Vanguard, counterblast one, look at top 5 of your deck, choose up to one Ave Mujica from among them, review it and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. Then while this unit is in front row left Regard Circle, unlocked during your battle phase, you get constant of your front row Ave Mujica Regard get 5k, and if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, of your back row also get additional 5k as well until end of turn. What is interesting with Dolores and Mortis is that it kind of mirrored Rana and Anon very well from the My Go band, and they have very similar job but with a few toolboxes swap around.
You suck.
And then we have the last 2 members of the Ave Mujica, and that is Amoris the Merciful and Timoris the Intelligent. Amoris has 2 skills where it gains both 5k power and shield if you have Ave Mujica Vanguard, and while it is unlocked when it is in back row left Regard Circle, counterblast one, choose one of your opponent Regard and retire it. Nothing too crazy on her skill, it's just a simple early game card and a way to kind of get rid of some annoying Regard when it is unlocked, so it does have some use.
You suck.
And then we have Timoris the Intelligent. Surprisingly, the most powerful card of the list in a sense that it has 2 abilities. The first is an act once per turn, where if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can Energy Blast 3, choose up to one grade 3 or less unit card with a different card name from this unit from your drop or bind zone, call it to Regard Circle, and if your Vanguard is not Ave Mujica, you can retire this unit. And then when this is unlocked during battle phase from your right back row, so blast 2, countercharge 1, and if your opponent Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit plus 5k until end of turn. Countercharge is always nice. As you can see from Dolores, Amoris, and Mortis, you are gonna be using a lot of counter Counterblast, so having a card that kind of recycle back some of these resource back is really helpful. However, there is a silver lining here. As she is able to call anything to Regard Circle, there is one particular card you can run to get more counter charge. Still a stretch though. Overall, it is safe to say the main playstyle of Ave Mujica is essentially Messiah, but slightly less troublesome because you don't have to destroy every turn, and you can technically still take advantage of Personal Right, allowing the deck to go aggro a little bit better, especially considering some of the music cards that they receive at the launch of their deck. Starting off with the grade 1, this music has only one skill, where when this card is placed on Regard Circle, look at top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one Ave Mujica from among them, review it, and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. Nothing too crazy, it just helps you to filter the deck further, and I would say this is easily the best grade 1 music card we have seen among the 3 bands that we have seen so far, especially considering there are more than one playstyle with Ave Mujica right now.
That was easy.
Next up, we have Crucifix X, where this card also only has one skill, where when this placed on Regard Circle and you have an Ave Mujica Vanguard, choose up to one Ave Mujica unit card from your drop, and if you do not have the record with the same name as that card, call it to Regard Circle. If you have a greater or greater Ave Mujica Vanguard, you can discard a card from your hand, and during that turn end step, all of your lock card cannot be unlocked until the end of your opponent's next turn. Choose all of your lock card and unlock them. So essentially, what this card trying to do, at least from what I'm seeing, is in a way protecting your entire board, because you are making all your field lock, essentially preventing your opponent from interacting with it except for a few cards, and then just bring it back to the field afterward, which is not a bad thing, especially considering this deck recovery speed is not that fast, and of course calling from drop is always nice. Though it is a little bit funny to see that this card has a lot of similarity with Fly in the Night in a way, though at the same time not really. Who am I kidding? It is a bloody same card.
That escalated quickly.
And then we have the last music, at least for the main playstyle of Ave Mujica. And we have the unknown music. What? It is unknown because it is apparently a spoiler to the show. I don't know the song itself, even though I watched the last episode already.
Hold it! The card has been revealed and it is called Musica Is.
But essentially this card also only have one skill, where when your lock cards are unlocked during your battle phase, perform all of the following based on the number of different named Ave Mujica unit on your field that was unlocked this turn. If there were 2 or more, your Vanguard gets additional crit, and if you have 4 or more, your Vanguard get additional drive. So yeah, as much as Oblionis is easily the weakest out of the 5 attack that you're gonna be pushing, she also does have a surprising good pressure when you're considering this grade 3 music. That is pretty much the main part of the Ave Mujica playstyle, but there is one other particular playstyle with this band as of now, and this got to do with the 4th music that was included in DCBT08. Though I have to bring this again, this gonna kind of climb into the spoiler territory just by me naming the card itself. So if you already watched the show, just proceed. If you don't really give a damn, proceed if you want to, but if you want to get a full context of these few cards, watch the show. So let's start off with the music. We have In Prison 12. This card has 3 different skills, where when this card placed on Regard Circle, search your deck for up to 1 to stage door for you Mortis, write it as stand, and shuffle the deck. If you wrote a card, put this card into the order zone, retire all of your Regard without Mortis and Musumi in their card names, choose one of your Vanguard, and until end of turn, cost of that unit original auto ability is reduced by Counterblast 1. And then constant on order zone, you cannot call unit card without Mortis or Musumi to Regard Circle. And last but not least, in order zone, Counterblast or Energy Blast 3, choose one Mortis or Musumi in your drop and call it to Regard Circle. So a few things that you can notice here is that this is essentially Mortis slash Musumi playstyle, and the deck does kind of seem to encourage you to have a lot of Mortis and Musumi on the board to do certain things. But what exactly it does? Well, let's start talking about the card that I mentioned earlier, Stage Door for you Mortis. This is a grade 4 unit that has 4 abilities, where this card cannot be ridden other than by the ability of Imprison 12 and Vanguard or Regard. During your turn, if your opponent is grade 3 or greater and your bind zone has at least 1 Musumi or Mortis in their card's name, this unit gets 5k. But if you have 3 or more of the same condition, you get 15k instead of 5k. And then auto once per turn, at the end of the battle this is attack, you can counter blast one, bind a total of 2 unit card with Musume or Mortis in their card's name from hand or Rega circle. Stand this unit and until end of turn, it get drive -3. And if your opponent Vanguard is greater or greater, it get drive +1. And then last but not least, when your unit with Mortis in its card name was unlocked during your battle phase, you may bind Mortis the Obedient from your front left Rega circle, call this card to the front row left Rega circle, and at the end of that turn, bind this unit.
Something's not right here.
This card as a Vanguard is not bad. I mean, a consistent 28k Vanguard that can restand and does have up to 4 drive is actually pretty good in itself. The only issue I want to complain about this card is the last skill, because despite the card seems to want you to ride as early as turn 3, it kind of forces you to stay as of Leonis at least for 1 turn before you swap it into Mortis. So that weirdness in the playstyle is a little bit glaring, at least in my eyes. Though at the same time, it seems to be something along the line of, okay, you still can run this card in the main version of Ave Mujica if you want to. That's why it has this weird hybrid kind of skill, at least in my opinion. But we still have one more card to go, and I will say this again, spoiler alert. We have many smiling Musumes in the audience. This card can be run up to 16 copies in your deck, and it has one additional ability where, depending on the number of Mortis and Musume in your bind zone, it gets the following: 2 or more, it can boost; 4 or more, it gets 5k shield and can intercept from the back row; if it's 6 or more, during your turn, it also gets additional 10k. So these units essentially make use of the Mortis bind essentially to make themselves more useful with boost, able to intercept from back row, and being a beater, but it definitely takes a while for them to actually set up. But how good are both of the playstyle? Starting off with the main playstyle, aka the Messiah playstyle, this does bring benefit of you playing the Messiah playstyle, and that is the lock manipulation, and certain cards in this deck also help you to take advantage of that lock as well. The deck also does have some good utility cards like Amoris and Timoris, which also help the deck to at least be a little bit more distinctive and actually help the deck in a good way in case of you want to sniping an annoying Rega or needing a counter charge. The problem with Ave Mujica, in my opinion though, is kind of boiled down to the fact that its highest power scale ceiling is relatively low.
Meanwhile,
The amount of utility you can pull off is hard blocked by counter blast. A lot of cards in this deck use quite a bit of counter blast, and one single counter charge every single turn from Timoris unfortunately doesn't cut for it. Moving into the Mortis playstyle, the Mortis playstyle does offer a slightly different playstyle of play where the deck prefer to go into the longer gameplay for a constant shielding, power, and also pressure. The only issue with Mortis is that because of the fact that they're trying to make the card kind of playable with the main playstyle of Musica as well, it causes some aspect of this playstyle to be a little bit compromised, namely the last skill on the Mortis herself, the total requirement that Mortis needed for the actual full skill, and last but not least, the amount of time it needs to actually reach that spot. And that Ave Mujica, the deck that I did not expect for them to literally take that one single line seriously, but actually turn it into something really decent. Like, both of the playstyle is actually quite fun to play. And I mean, come on, look at the Musume. But what do you guys think? Do leave down the comments below on what you guys think of this Ave Mujica collab, and I'll say this again, go watch the show. You won't be disappointed, though you might want to watch the My Go also as well. So just a heads up. And that is all I have for today. Take care of yourself, don't forget to clap that sub and become a member for some cool perks. This is Mac Megane, signing out.
Yeah.